Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Cal Royal number BB-52454. This is a 4.5 by 4 full mortise heavyweight ball bearing steel based 5-knuckle hinge. This is a nifty little hinge. I like to use this hinge as often as I can, even though it's not as often as I would like. And what I mean by that is it's 4-inch wide. You may be able to tell by looking at it that, oh gosh, that's a heavyweight hinge. Yeah, it is. There's a few telltale signs. The size of it, of course, and then the 4 bearing packets. And you might be able to tell it's not exactly rectangular. A 4-inch wide hinge is really nifty because what happens is you have less projecting hardware off the face of the door compared to a 4.5 by 4.5. I like to, and it's probably been the preferred way to go for the hardware clerk to suggest to his client, listen, you don't want excessive projecting hardware off the face of your door. You might have a real narrow application where every square 1/16 of an inch really counts. And what's going to happen is, and if you notice it, if you ever take time and notice, a 4.5 by 4.5 inch hinge, when it's installed on a frame that wraps the wall, the barrel seems to hang off a lot. It really sticks off the edge a lot. You'll notice it in your coffee shops. Those are knockdown frames over drywall partition walls. And it's not really a problem there, but if you're walking down a hallway and it's maybe not an excessively large hallway at all, and you've got hardware hanging off, you can walk by and knock your face of your watch on it. Every so often I'll walk down a hallway, and because of projecting hardware, I'll unintentionally get the cuff of my jacket caught on it. And it happens to all of us at some point. The purpose of me saying all of this is restrict your projecting hardware when you can. A 4-inch wide versus a 4.5-inch wide is a way to do it when you have absolutely no problem with any sort of trim or molding on the outside, the application will permit you to go with a vertical axis of pivoting a bit more snug to the face of the frame and door. Okay. You will very often, and in support of my argument, is the aluminum storefront industry. Their standard hinge is 4.5 by 4. A lot of their stuff swings out, most certainly. You've got people walking in front of the doors, walking around the doors, whatever the case might be. 4-inch wide is standard for those folks. So there's your argument to help keep your projecting hardware. 4.5 tall is great because it's a standard. It's a hollow metal standard size for 18 gauge doors, even 16 gauge doors, 20 gauge doors. And what makes this a nifty hinge is the fact that it's a confluence of a lot of smart features that, if you can get away with it, go for it. I like to use 5 by 4 or 5 by 4.5 when I can, because the height of the hinge gives me so much more better ability to hang a heavy door, which is where the wide throw portion of this, which is where the heavyweight portion of this comes in as well. Let's dissect the part number. The BB, that's obvious. That's going to mean ball bearing. This is a heavyweight hinge. That means that leaf thickness is 180 thousandths. That would be the ANSI standard thickness for heavyweight. Let's see what the caliper says. Here's the moment of truth, Cal Royal. Let's find out. My caliper tells me that leaf thickness is 0.178, so pretty good. 178 thousandths, my caliper tells me. That's heavyweight. A standard weight hinge is 134 thousandths. I read somewhere in a catalog that standard versus heavyweight gives you an additional 20+% efficiency or capacity to hang a heavy door, and that's really great. You just have to stick with all heavyweight or all standard weight on a single door. You can't mix and match those. So when you have a heavyweight, you have 4 bearing packets. That's the purpose of that. When you have a standard weight, you have 2 bearing packets. Okay. This is a 5-knuckle hinge. You can see why it's a 5-knuckle hinge. It's a full mortise hinge. You can see from the swag on the hinge leaves here, right in here and on the other side, that when those leaves are brought parallel, they're meant to be flush, mortised flush to the edge of the door and frame. That'll give you that standard margin between the two. The 52454, that buried in that part number tells us that it's heavyweight, that it's going to be 5 knuckle, that it's going to be made of steel. No, it doesn't tell it's made of steel. You can get a non-ferrous base material on the same part number. That it is full mortise, that it is heavyweight, that it is 5 knuckle. And then the 5.4, the 454, I should say. The 52 tells us, the 454 tells us it's 4.5 by 4. Now it's really important to know the height is the first dimension. Oh, it doesn't matter. Some people will say, yeah, I need a 5 by 4.5. What do you mean, 5 by 4.5? That's the height first, right? I need a 4.5 by 6 or a 4.5 by 4. The point of the matter is your door prep, your frame prep, and your hinge height all need to match. As you know, the first dimension on a door is the width. First dimension on a hinge is the height. The height is the real important thing on a hinge because that's directly related to its ability to hold a door. And I imagine why that may be the first dimension. I don't know the actual reason. 4 is the width. Okay. Important to know whether you're dealing with if you're dealing with a 4.5 by 4.5, you can get away with not knowing what's the first dimension. But when you get into rectangular hinges, again, 4.5 by 4, 4 by 3.5, 3.5 by 6, 4.5 by 6, 5 by 8. You need to know what you're dealing with. Okay. This is going to be a steel-based hinge. You can also get these in stainless. This is the satin chrome 26D. It's properly called 652 because that 652 is the BHMA number that defines not only the finish, but in my mind, as importantly, if not more so, the base material. 652 is satin chrome. 626 is satin chrome. That one's steel, that one's brass. That's the difference. Okay. The only downside of the Cal Royal hinges, I wish their logo wasn't so big. And not that I'm against Cal Royal. I'm a fan. I've been doing business with them for 25 years and have no intention of stopping. But there's something elegant about a smaller logo. In my mind, there is. They should be proud of their product. They've got a good product. I would personally prefer if the logo was a whole lot smaller, in my opinion. Might also matter when you are selling hinges to a client and the specification reads so-and-so, so-and-so, and that hinge should have been ordered 5 weeks ago. Ain't going to happen. What can you sell me? Well, I've got this Cal Royal hinge. It's ready to go. Are they going to be able to tell the difference? That's not my... I know what that question is actually asking. Not getting into duplicitous, unapproved product substitution. I don't know. Is the customer going to know? I do wish the logo was a bit smaller. I think it'd be more elegant if it was. Now, the location of the hole, some people will call it a half moon pattern. That's just template pattern is what we would call it. Template, not like a drawing with dimensions on it, but template is in terms of it being referenced to the ANSI standard of the location of the holes being in a defined universal type location where every manufacturer whose hinge is template pattern, every door manufacturer whose frames and doors are template pattern, we don't have to worry about measuring all that. It's universalized. It's standardized. It's the template pattern for a 4.5 inch hinge. Okay, not to worry about that. Speaking of those holes, screws are included. You're going to get machine screws. You're going to get wood screws. Generally, you'll get all machine and half wood. I believe these are all wood and all machine screws. Wood door, wood frame, uncommon in the commercial industry. Wood door, steel frame for sure. Steel door, steel frame, of course, no doubt. There's information down below that talks about must be purchased in quantities of 3. Cal Royal doesn't break a box. When you buy one, you're going to get one. You're going to pay for one hinge, but they're going to say, listen, do you want 3 hinges or no hinges? They're only going to sell a box, so it has to be in multiples of 3. I'll break a box if I stock them. If you have an 8-foot door, you don't need 6 hinges, you need 4, so I'll break a box. ANSI A 8111 or 811.1. I'm not sure what that actually is. I forgot. It's a reference to the standard, the ANSI standard, American National Standard Institute. Made of steel, 180 thousandths, 5-knuckle, 4 bearings, number of holes 8. They define the screws. For heavy doors or doors receiving high-frequency use, inner edges are beveled to conform to shape of barrel and to make close-fitting joints. Inner edges are beveled to conform to the shape of the barrel. They may be referring to the swag. No, they might be referring to the slight little bevel inside of here, so that when the leaves are brought in together, there's really no chance that they'll make contact with each other. Maybe. You can see there's a little bit of relief on that. Equipped with all machine screws and 1/2 wood screws. Okay. Specifications of product and image may differ. Yeah, sure, it's a generic image, at least at this time. There is a link to a document called Template that will give you all of the dimensional properties, except that this current template is for a 4.5, 4.5. I will investigate whether or not we can update that if there is a current one. If there is, we will replace it by the time you see it. But if we don't, the 2 1/4 inch dimension that you see there, just change that to 2 inch. Everything else will stay the same. Center line to the edge of the leaf, 2 inch. Okay. It does give you the location of your hinge prep to show you the standard. And then again, where you're going to use this. Anytime when you've got a door that's going to get a lot of use, go with a heavyweight. It's thicker, so you're going to have to make sure your doors and frames are prepped for it. But if it's hollow metal, it probably already is, with a small amount of modification perhaps. If you have something really light duty and it's never going to be used and it's not particularly heavy, I would say that it's inappropriate to use a heavyweight hinge. But I can tell you firsthand that I have seen hinges fatigue. I've sold hinges to people, and whether it be 20 years or 2 months, there's going to be wear and tear on that hinge. And that's got everything to do with the bearing nature of the hinge. Thicker, heavy weights are going to give you 4 bearing packets, astronomically, orders of magnitude more capable. You're dealing with maybe a 32nd of an inch lead line door. That should be hung on pivots. But my goodness, don't specify standard weight hinges. You'll need at least heavy weights, and I would argue 5 by 4.5 or 5 by 4 heavyweight ball bearing naturally for such a hinge. Hinges and doors and frames are really those items that people, if the health of the hardware is brought to your attention, there's probably something broken on it. A heavyweight hinge allows us to continue on happily in our life without noticing that a door doesn't latch, that the door creaks, or the closer can't get it closed because of wear and tear in the knuckle area between the meeting surfaces. I've got an old minivan, and I can hear every time I open the door, steel on steel. Eventually, I'm going to have to lift the door just to get it to latch, which is unfortunate. But when something's that old and that, used up, even a heavyweight hinge will need to be replaced eventually. I would imagine that the life cycle on a hinge like this is probably going to be well into the 3 million style range. This would certainly be, moving forward, this would be a listed product. That means it's thoroughly permissible to be used on a fire-rated door. Builder's hardware, fire-rated door with builder's hardware. The factory would certainly have listings on file indicating that this is tested and approved for a fire-rated application. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Cal-Royal products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. The catalog is nice. It shows you an incredibly comprehensive and ever-growing product line from Cal-Royal. They continue to reinvent. They continue to expand their product offering. They continue to do so in a prompt, reliable, predictable fashion. They do so with a good quality product and good quality people. I continue to send them purchase orders because they keep it simple. For the most part, send them a PO, and with a couple of days, you're going to be pretty ready to ship, whether that be a box of hinges or it be a skid of hinges. They're really good about that. Their inventory is generally excessively deep. Being an importer of hardware from overseas, you've got to buy a container load of them, so they generally have lots of the stuff ready to go. And there you go. I'm partial to them. If you're doing a project, I cannot think of a reason why you should not consider them, and would encourage you to expose yourself to their product line. You might just find that that it fits your goals as well. Any questions on the Cal-Royal BB52454 2060, and obviously available in lots of different finishes, or any other Cal-Royal product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.